you do?
Yeah.
Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor.
It says, thou shalt in any wise rebuke. Rebuke means correct. That's your brother over there? So when y'all disagree, and when he piss you off, and when you piss him off, right? Y'all got to come and say, you know what? I ain't like that you did that. And then you got, after he show you what you did wrong, what you think you got to do? You got to apologize, right?
Yeah.
And then after he apologized, because now check this out. If it's something he do over and over and over and over again, right? Is it something he does over and over and over again that you don't like? How does that make you feel? Like what? Uncomfortable, right? But what does he do after you say something to him?
Take mother.
Yes, sir. Don't do nothing to that.
He don't
man. He
listen
just
to
got
you.
back
Hear
home.
that? Come on up here,
He
man.
just got back home.
Come on
Don't
up
listen
here.
to what he said.
Come on up here. So, this is a complaint that your brother had. He said you never listen to him. Who's the oldest?
Okay.
The one on his side.
He the oldest?
Okay, so he said you never listen to
No,
him.
not him.
Do you understand
The
that
one on his side.
Proverbs 17 is for the church? You know what I'm saying? This is what we gotta understand about each other. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 17.
A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity.
It says a friend loveth at all times. So a brother is closer than what? A friend, right? So if a friend loveth at all times, then brother's supposed to love at all times, right? And it says a brother is what?
Born for adversity.
A brother is born for the challenges that we go through in life. So if you walk away from your brother, then you left alone dealing with what? The challenges. And the scriptures say, woe to him that is what? Alone. So if you don't have help with the challenges that you face, then you're going to fail like every other person that's doing it alone. So if your brother is talking to you, then you got to actually listen to him. Because the thing that he say can actually save your life. You know why? It might not him telling you to take the trash out, pick up behind yourself. You might think that that's small, right? You ain't got to listen to that. Oh man, I'll do that later. But you know what you're doing? You created a pattern of bad habit, which is not listening. And the very day that you need to have listened, it costs you your life. Why? Because you create a pattern of not listening. So as this being your brother, you got to actually listen to the things that he's telling you, because he's telling you the things that he actually don't like. And this is what the Bible says he's doing. Read it from the top.
A friend loveth
Back in Leviticus 19.
Book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
Because he has a responsibility to say something to you. Because if he don't, then he's going to burn hatred. He even admitted that it's things that you do over and over and over that he don't like. And he said those things don't make him feel comfortable. Right? And if they don't make him feel comfortable because you don't listen to him, now he has to fight off burn what? Hatred. You get what I'm saying?
That's bad for a brother.
And that's bad, because what does hatred do? Get 1 John chapter 3. Let me show you what hatred does. The second sin in the Bible, not the second, but a very heinous act happened because of how somebody felt. So this is 1 John chapter 3. Let me show you what hatred does. 1 John chapter 3, and we'll jump in at verse 15.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 15.
Let's start at verse 11.
Verse 11. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Not as Cain,
It says, not as Cain,
who of the wicked one, and slew his brother.
so Cain came to a point to where he slew his brother. Why? Hatred. Anger. So because he was angry and he bore hatred for his brother Abel, it caused him to actually kill his brother. That happens in life. You have actual blood brothers that actually kill each other. That happens. So don't think it's strange. You don't think that Your brother has such a duty to you to where Satan can't come upon him and allow him to put you to death.
Hello?
But those things happen
You
when
at
we
the house?
don't humble ourselves to the
I'm on
things
King,
that's
I'm
being
on
said. So now,
I'm at King's
when
Highway.
it comes to him, you do have to say something, because when you say something, now you let him know this is what
Curry
you
at the house,
don't
Mom.
like.
Okay.
And do you
I'm
do
about
that
to go
all
get
the
Curry.
time, or do sometimes you
I'll
brush
be
it
on my
off?
way to come get you.
Sometimes you brush it off, well, that's the mistake. That's the worst thing we can do.
Hey, use Galatians and show them how to say something.
Right. Galatians 6. Is it 5?
Right. Say something. Look, a lot of times we say something and we say it in the wrong, we say it any kind of way in the wrong spirit and it's not received. So you want to put your energy
Like this.
and when trying to explain to them how you feel, you don't make it soft. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to actually, because that's your brother, you're trying to talk them, win them, you know what I'm saying? So, we gotta lower that aggression down so that they can see that we're really sincere about this thing and it means something to them.
Galatians 6.
Brethren, if any man be overtaken in a fault,
Right, sir.
5, 17, spirit. Yeah. But the fruit of the spirit. So Galatians and then what's the other? James 4, 17. That's what I'm saying. Yes, because I'm trying to say that's James 4, 17. James 4. James 4, 17. What is it? Talk about that. No, that's Galatians 5. So that's Galatians 5. Galatians 5. Right way.
James 4:17 is good. That's essential.
Go back to James. Let me see.
Okay.
It's 3:17. It's 3:17. James 3:17. Go ahead. Because remember, you gotta say something to him, and what you're saying gotta come from within you, right? So the spirit in you, it still gotta be right, even though you express it to him what you don't like. Go ahead.
the book of James, chapter 3 and verse 17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable.
See that? So when you speak to them, remember, because when we come to one another and we correcting each other, it's supposed to be out of the wisdom of the Most High. We're supposed to do it through the spirit that God give us on how to reconcile with each other, right? It says, but the spirit with the wisdom which is from above is pure. Pure meaning you ain't adding your personals in there. It's something that he can hear and he can accept because everything you said is right and it's undeniable. But when you throw in there sarcasm, then he heard the sarcasm and he missed the message of the thing that he did wrong, right? So it's got to be pure. It can't be tainted with your feelings and your emotions. You understand? Go ahead.
Then peaceable.
It says then peaceable. It's got to be what do we look for in peace? A tone of voice, right? If you raising your voice, he don't see that as peace. He see that as a threat. He see that as confrontation. So it's got to be peaceful. It's got to be in a way that he can accept it. You get what I'm saying? Because everything that's being said, the way it's being said, he got no choice but to listen because he sees no offense in it. You get what I'm saying? It's nothing but peace. How do people talk when they got a low tone of voice? You get what I'm saying? They speaking very clearly, watching what they saying. Go ahead.
Outcome you want to be, like the outcome you're looking for is peace.
Right.
Not looking for a strife or argument or a fight.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead.
Gentle.
It says gentle, something he can handle, not something that now he's offended. Now he got an issue. Well, look at how you talking to me. Well, you can't talk to me like that, right? It's got to be gentle. Go ahead.
and easy to be entreated.
It says easy to be entreated means it's easy for him to accept, easy for him to understand. You understand? So when you express those problems that you have, this is how you got to come to him. Go ahead.
Full of mercy,
And then it says full of what? Mercy. Why you gotta be merciful? Because there is going to be a time when he's going to come right back to you and he's going to express the issue that he has with you. Right? Then you get Ecclesiastes 28. Check this out. This is why we gotta be merciful. So Ecclesiastes 28, and it should be verse 28. Verse 4. Check this out. This is why it has to be full of mercy. Go ahead.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 28, and verse 4. He showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself.
It says a person shows no mercy to a man which is like himself. What does it mean like himself? You do wrong. It's times where you're going to be wrong, right? So you have to be merciful because when the situation is reversed, you're going to be looking for the same thing. What else does mercy do? Mercy also shows a person that they can recover from it, right? Because if you're not merciful, a person can think that they doomed. They can think that these things is over. We can't reconcile. Our relationship is destroyed. But when you show mercy, you give them the opportunity to show that they can be better. You get what I'm saying? That they can overcome it, because sometimes sin has the ability, man, to overtake us and put us in the mindset where we can't overcome it. That's why I use the example. It's things that he may do over and over and over, right? If you unmerciful, he'll think that, well, this is just me then. I ain't gonna never be better than this. That ain't the message you want to get to, but you want to show them, listen, you know what? I understand this might have been a mistake. I understand you didn't mean no harm. I accept that. You know what I'm saying? You want to give them that. Get Matthew 6. This is another reason you got to be merciful. Matthew chapter 6, and we'll jump in at verse 7. Matthew 6, 7, and we'll jump in at verse 2.
The book of Matthew, chapter 7, and verse 2. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again.
You get what I'm saying? So what that's talking about, when you in a situation, the intensity that you put into it, it's like you come down on it. Oh man, you ride them into the dirt. You beat up on them, right? That's the opposite of mercy. You straight beating up on them, you rough with them, you handling them. The Most High said, if you use that type of measure with him, it's gonna be measured right back to you. That's why you gotta be merciful. That's why you gotta be peaceable. That's why you gotta be gentle, because when you go wrong, God said that's how he gonna handle you, and that ain't what we want. You get what I'm saying?
Even the use of profanity. You notice, like, if you use profanity, then he'll use it, but you might have started off using it. Even a word like shit or damn, you open the door. Now he's gonna use profanity too, when that ain't even what you wanted. You just was trying to express the resentment for the situation. Like, man, damn, you tripping. So now he used profanity too. So you gotta really bridle yourself, man. Even though you suffering a real grave situation and you tolerate it, and it's gotta be longer than 5 minutes. Right. You cannot put a stop clock or watch on that thing, man. How long you can take the buffoonery. You're gonna have to take it until he actually see it. You're gonna have to be able to, as a matter of fact, you have to send up prayers and think about it before you even approach it. So when you go in real calm, and you keep telling yourself, I'm gonna remain calm, I'm gonna remain cool, I'm gonna remain in the mindset, I'm gonna remember what was said, I'm gonna remember these scriptures. That's why you're gonna have to read and study. Or else the old person will be telling you what to do. You ain't got to go for that out of pocket. You know you tripping. You know you doing this. You know that you know, but no, you can't deal with that. You got to deal with the scriptures, because this is the deliverance from you. from you, from the old person. This is deliverance from the old person who used to behave like that. Now you're trying to be the new person. All right, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
Right. So, but now we back at what we get. So this is James chapter 3. It says, peaceable, gentle, easy to be entreated, full of mercy. Go ahead.
And good fruit.
It says, and good fruit. You know what the good fruit is? Sees how you dealt with him, and he picks up on it, and he say, you know what? What's your name again? Courtney, Portland. He go like, you know what, man, Cortland, you dealt with me so right. I'm gonna turn around and deal with the next person just like that. It says good fruit, something that he can take example at. Because what we gotta understand is we set an example to people in everything that we do. You know, you'll be setting an example with your facial expression. Your face can't be all twisted up. You huffing and puffing while you talking. Your stature, your posture can't be aggressive. Those are supposed to be everything you do. He's going to be watching and he's going to be taking example at it. This is why you got to have good fruits, something that he can turn around and he can apply, and it benefits him the same that it benefits you. Go ahead.
Without partiality.
And then it says without partiality. That's like the brother said. You can't refrain yourself for 5 minutes. You can't only do some of it. You can't endure it for a while. It can't be partial. It's got to be a full-time thing, a day in and day out, all day, every day of your life. It can't be partial, because the moment that you get partial, then that's going to teach him to be partial and how to deal with you. So you're going to have to be a complete sacrifice. You're going to have to do it entirely, regardless if it takes the next 10 years. Because it takes time for people to see the things that we're trying to get them to see. Not because they don't understand. They don't understand it, but who gives man the understanding? God does. So it could actually, the situation is actually about you. It has nothing to really even do about your brother. But it's the Most High trying to see how is Cortland going to handle this offense.
Or if it take 45 minutes,
Yeah.
or an hour, not 10 years, because situations, they get drawn out for a long period of time, and it take what it takes.
Right.
You got to keep talking to them.
Right. So in that situation, get extended 30 minutes, you still dealing with it. You still in there. But if you continue those good fruits, naturally a person will see that, dang, I'm the one going off. I'm the one that's being aggressive, and you know what? He's speaking nice to me. You know what? Let me back down, because at this point, I'm being more of a grief to him. So when you hang in there, what is the Most High saying going to be the end result? Go ahead.
And without hypocrisy.
Go ahead.
And the fruit of righteousness.
It says the fruit of righteousness. Go ahead.
Is sown in peace.
It's sown in peace. Go ahead.
Of them that make peace.
What they're saying is the fruit of righteousness is that's what the outcome you want to be in a situation. You want righteousness to come from it, right? But the Most High said it's sown in them that make peace. So in a situation to where you are offended, who has to be the one seeking the peace in the situation? Him or you? You. And when you do that, then the Most High will eventually, over the period of time, whether it's 5 minutes or 30, the Most High will give you the thing that you was looking for, which is, you know what, whether it's an apology or y'all walking on, agreeing and being on one accord. Does it make sense? But it all starts with how you handle yourself. Because the Most High is watching, and these things are listed for you. Why? Because you're trying to get him to see something that he just don't see.
Back up to the hypocrisy.
Go ahead.
Without hypocrisy.
Without hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is when you say something and you require it of somebody else, but you yourself don't do it. You yourself don't do it. So you got to make sure that everything that you're asking him to do, you don't do it. You got to make sure, even when it hurts you, not to do it, because you always got to remember that you are leaving an example. You are setting an example. And you've been older, right? So, right. So he got to follow your example. You got to be a true big brother indeed.
So you're gonna have to clean your act up and stuff like that. And it might take you a long time. I'm gonna give you an example. See my big brother right here, this big guy right here. Now he's got a younger brother and he's been teaching for years, right? But his younger brother, the bell just started ringing. Just started ringing. And he been saying something to his little brother for years. But now all of a sudden, ding, now all of a sudden the bell lit up and he ready to change just like that. And it's because he kept having a good example. And he didn't change regardless of what his mother, his father, his sister, his brother, regardless of what they was doing, he stayed true to these words. So just let's take away the book. Everything we're saying still is right. It's still right. We just get this wisdom from the Most High. You understand? So when you look at and examine what we're saying, don't look at it like, oh, this is a book. The Bible says the words I speak unto, they are spirit and they are life. So this is life, and it's a spirit associated with the words. Because people don't have it. Just like you can take a dog, and you're like, man, that dog is mean. He's mean-spirited. He's very aggressive, can't pat him. He only wants to own it. It's the fight in him. It's the spirit in him, right? So is it spirit and behavior. So the behavior comes from the Most High. So in order for anybody to change, they got to have the behavior from the Most High, which is the spirit. And he's expressing how to get the spirit and how to change your behavior by using the words that he had documented by people like us in days of old. That's where it comes from. You understand? Okay. So with your brother, it's going to take some time. You ain't going to go right home, boom, ta-da. You know, it's like that. It ain't going to work like that. He's still going to be him. But it's you that's got to learn how to fight this fight to try and get him, by setting an example, try to get him to do something different. So that's going to be your battle first. Not him, yours first. And you got to continue in it, being able to suffer. Being able to suffer, to put up with him. And after you beat up some more, he finally gonna get it. But then that's your job as a brother. You can't walk on the earth, man, without putting in work. You can't do nothing. If you're no pain, no gain. You're gonna have to go through that pain. But that's cool, that's for your brother, because then he gonna be able to do it with his children. I learned from my brother. He got his eyes on me, man. Don't trip off, brother. He got his eyes on me. You know, and those things are gonna mean a whole lot to him, man. He just don't express it to you. But he's watching and he got his eyes on it. And when you turn for the better, man, he gonna grow up on the inside, man. He gonna highly respect you. He'll give a very control stick for you. You know, that's the love that's really there, man. You know, but it's this other stuff that we're teaching you now. This is to show you how to endure. You understand? How to keep your sanity, and how to stay mentally intact, and know and don't give up and walk away from it. You're like, man, forget it, man. That's just on you. Because we lose each other like that, and people bury their relatives like that. When we let them go and we don't have it, and we don't try and stir and gap, but he got a 1 and 2. So go ahead, bro.
Right. So then let's go to, and then this is another way that you help them along with, you know, teaching them, showing them, setting an example for them. Let's go to James 5 and 16. So this is another thing you got to do. Along the way, James chapter 5 and verse 16.
Confess your faults one to another and pray for another. Pray one for another, that you may be healed.
So now, while you go through it, you got to pray one for another. So you got to pray.
You got to confess his fault.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to actually be a person of where the things you go, the struggles you have, and you got to admit it. You got to come right out and say it. You can't hide it, because remember, set an example, right? If you have the ability to confess your fault, then that means you're going to be taught, right?
I was wrong for yelling at
you.
I was wrong for grabbing you.
Yep.
I was wrong for pressing you.
Cussing at him, calling him out his name. I was every you admit everything that you know you doing that he sees, right? So when you confessing your faults to him, now that gives him the example that you know what, if you do that, then I gotta do it too. And that's how the peace comes in. You get what I'm saying? And then he see an example of you humbling yourself to him, right? If you humble yourself to him, what's gonna happen in return? He gonna want to humble himself too. It'll get to the point to where, and this happened amongst brothers to where they have disagreements and disputes, and then you know what they end up doing? They racing each other. They trying to beat each other to humble themselves. You get what I'm saying? You be trying to humble yourself before him, and he be trying to humble himself before you. And if both y'all doing that, then where's the offense? It ain't one. So when you create that pattern, you teaching him a pattern. And then as you do that, go ahead
and pray one for another.
And then you turn around and pray one for another. You pray for him, right? To be better. As you pray for what? Yourself first. Help me not to do the things that he don't like. Help me to see it faster, because a lot of times we don't see the offense until it's too late. So then you know what we should pray for? We should actually pray to see it sooner. Because when we see it sooner, then we can recover sooner. Then the damage is what? Is minimal. Versus we done fell out so bad and so much, and even though we reconcile, now we ain't gonna talk for 2 days. So when we pray for that ability to see it sooner, then the Most High, he allow us the disagreements not to be so severe. And then you also pray for him that, you know what, one day, Lord, he sees. Give me the strength to continue to humble myself. Give me the strength and the spirit to continue to deal with it and suffer. And then while you suffering with it, putting up with it, how should you feel? Say it again. No, you don't want to feel bad. You want to get, I believe it's Wisdom of Solomon. Yeah, this is Wisdom of Solomon 2:1. 1:1. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth.
So now you gotta love righteousness. You know what righteousness is? Everything that we're talking about. But what is the thing that we're talking about? The fact that you gotta love, you gotta suffer, right? Because through all of these things, even though he may not change, right? So now you gotta actually love to what? Suffer. Because that's the righteousness of the Most High. The suffering is you applying the things that we're saying. But the Most High is actually calling it righteousness. And God's eyesight is righteous, and our eyesight we suffer. You gotta love that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you understand that part? Like, have you ever worked out before? You ever been on a sports team, basketball, baseball? Look like a baseball guy. You ever played any sports, ran track? You ever worked out?
I ran track.
You ran track? So do you remember how they used to make you run? They didn't make y'all run. You had to run laps and stuff, right? Right. And sometimes you had to run in the heat, right? That was suffering, right? But it made you a faster and a stronger runner, right? Right. So you looked at the outcome, it made you a better runner, right? But in order to get there, you had to suffer first, right? So that's what it means when you say you got to love suffering, because nobody's going to be like, oh, yes, I like this suffering. Oh, yeah, nobody's going to be like that. But you got to understand that because you endure the sufferings, your spirit is getting stronger to the resistance that's coming up against it. Does it make sense to you now? I had to compare it to you had to run. Did you quit track? Because you ran from the sufferings. You got to learn to finish something. So now in Christ, you got to learn to finish this thing, and you can't quit. You got to see it through. It'll make you stronger, all right? All right.
Okay, so love righteousness, ye that be judges of the earth. So the Most High actually created us to be judges, to be able to go into situations and determine what should be the outcome. Does that make sense? Go ahead.
Think of the Lord with a good heart.
So while you going through the suffering, while you teaching and being patient and waiting, what are you doing? You thinking upon the Lord with a good heart. You having a positive mindset. Even though you having to suffer, even though he may be repeating the matter, even though he still don't see it, the Most High say you still got to think with a good heart. You got to be charitable, and you got to believe that, you know what, I understand that eventually, over time, he'll see it. Because if if you don't think of the Lord with a good heart, then that's when Satan will come in and he'll put those thoughts of hatred in your heart. And that's not what you want. You want him to change, right? Go ahead.
And in simplicity of heart seek him.
It says, and in simplicity of heart seek him, meaning follow the guidelines that the Most High set in front of us, because the scriptures are simple when we apply them. And no matter how tough the situation is, the Most High has the answer. The Bible encourages us, right? It gives us the wisdom of what to do, what not to do. It uplifts our spirit. So that's why it says in simplicity of heart, meaning don't go another route. Don't create your own way. Because when we create our own way, what always comes from our ways to do something? Chaos. We go wrong. But whenever we go according to the scriptures, it actually, after we been done wrong and then we come back and humble ourselves to the scriptures, we actually be like, man, that was actually simple. Why didn't I just do that in the beginning, right? So you got a little bit to deal with, and that's the path that the Most High wants you to go on. And then on top of that, you got to continue to read. You get what I'm saying? Continue to study, continue to learn, so that every time a situation arises, the Most High give you His wisdom and His words on how to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you deal with your brother like that, you know who else you'll deal with like that? Every other brother on the street, right? And when you have the ability to deal with other brothers like that, then that'll save your life too. Because you go out into the street and you get angry with somebody and you go off or you yell at the wrong person, what comes of that? Yeah, the same things we heard, the same gunshots we heard in the street. So this is how we actually, the Most High is showing you how to better your relationship with you and a brother, as well as how to be an example in the community of our people and how to strengthen our people. You get what I'm saying? So that's a good start point. Make sense to you? You're gonna be able to remember it all. And if you got questions and if you forget, you got the fire, right? Reach right back out and say, you know what? That's part of confessing the false. You know what? I did it for a little while. I had to do it for 10 minutes. And dang, I gave up. I gave in. So then what you think gonna happen after? Then you gonna get more scripture. Then you gonna get more encouragement. And then we gonna set you right on the path to do a little bit longer. That's your bus? Oh, okay. So
Number 4.
you got it. Sure.
Did you got what is that? The information, you got the website, do you have a phone? Once subscribe to the channel, tell them about the YouTube.
Right, once you got YouTube, pull up YouTube. And here you can keep up with the classes, and then you can even go back and see this video here, and then so it can remind you and put you back on the instructions of everything that came on YouTube.
Yeah, I got a flyer. I
Flyer?
got a website on it.
Yes.
Also, right now, we got a women's class. Right now, nothing but women. You on Facebook?
Yeah, my phone is at home.
Okay. This is your number. That's
Give me another one of those flyers.
It's you ain't got connection now, but it's in the search. So then when you get to Wi-Fi, then you search it when the channel still subscribe.
And go on there and you will see.
Make sense?
This is our website.
Genesis.org. Let me write down.
So when we start off,
So I can breathe a little bit. So I can breathe a little bit.
Smoking them blacks. You got to leave them blacks alone. Them blacks is not good for you. Either or cigarette. Yeah, you probably ready.
and let's get Hosea 4 verse.
Girl.
So now,
Smoking. Ecclesiastes 26 about a woman choosing the right woman.
right? So Genesis 1,
Oh, really? And then that kind of lost his mind.
Ecclesiastes 26. So you still with us, right? Let me show you a few more before you go. Why you with? So now, you got Genesis 1, then you get 1 Corinthians 3. So check this out. So now, this is Genesis chapter 1. Actually, let's go to 1 Corinthians 3 first. And then you get Wisdom of Solomon 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 3.
Yep.
and
So now
verse
this
16.
is YouTube. So
No, you're not. And you are the temple of God.
Of course, the thing you gotta
okay, so I'm gonna give
understand
you three
is
different
that go ahead and put it
platforms,
out for
right?
yourself.
This is YouTube. This is the website. It's okay. We deal with so many different people. We help them to come off the streets,
So now,
get clean.
so we have 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 16. Check this out.
No, you're not.
So it says, don't, so no ye not is the same as saying, don't you know? So Courtney, you might not do this. Go ahead.
That ye are the temple of God.
And we are the temple of God. The
By
temple,
teaching them.
what do people do in the temple? They dwell in the temple. They go into a temple, right? So we, the Israelites, we are the temple of God. Go ahead.
And that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you.
So the Spirit of God, the Spirit that the Most High sends to the earth,
And they go for it.
is supposed to dwell inside of us, right?
So
Go
now,
ahead.
If any
So
man
now, if any man or woman, go ahead,
defile the temple of God,
if they defile the temple of God, how would a person defile their temple? How would you defile? Just think of a building. How would you defile that building over there, cash rolls and car titles?
like changing the stuff. that
How would
you
you
need.
defile? You destroy it, right? You break it, you set it on fire, you bust the windows out, you pretty much bring the building to nothing, right? So now, the way that we destroy our bodies is we put things in our bodies that don't belong. Does that make sense? So something that, so now we in Genesis 1 and verse 29. Check this out.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 29. That way God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed.
So God gave the herb, he created every herb bearing seed, right? Go ahead.
Which is upon the face of all the earth.
This is upon the face of all the earth. Go ahead.
And every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed.
So now God created herb, and herb, what's another word for the herb? Is plant, right?
Bombshell.
He created all the plants, all the trees, right? Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
put that on
To you
YouTube, right?
it shall be
Ain't
for
got
me.
to look at
Those different herbs and plants, they were supposed to be
You
for
go
food
for
or
it.
something.
Hey, if
So
you
now
wanna get
let's
back to normal,
mention one herb that's being that people use and don't use it correctly. Tobacco, right? Tobacco is a plant. It does grow out of the earth, right? So what was tobacco used for? Tobacco was something that was used for
we can do. You
stings.
can give yourself this.
You know, bee stings, different things, and when the flesh would be hurt, and they would wet it and wrap it. If it was a scar on the arm, they would wet it, moisten it, wrap your arm around it, bandage it, and then it would take away the sting. It would take away the pain, right? So that was the way that herb was supposed to be used. It was never supposed to be rolled up in paper, fired into it, and then it inhaled, right? Because that thing destroys what? The lungs. The same way, now this is the irony of it, right? People run out of a burning building, why? because of the
Where you
smoke.
at?
The smoke kills when people die from smoke inhalation, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
then,
that's
is
not
it
far,
not
right?
smoke inhalation when we smoke cigarettes and different things?
Where you move from?
So if it's deadly in a house fire, why don't we consider it deadly
It's okay.
than a blunt, in a cigarette, and a black and mild, right? It's the same thing. It's not supposed to be in hell. Remember, God said that, read that again in 1 Corinthians 3 and 16.
If any man defile the temple of God,
If any man put things in their body, which is the temple of God, that do not belong, go ahead.
him shall God destroy.
Him shall God destroy. And the way that God destroys us, they give us lung cancer,
I'm
give
finna
us
put our
smoke
class
cancer,
days on there.
right? But
So
those
this
are
is
those
two
are
accounts.
things that
Send a friend request
is
to
that
both of
something
them.
that you
This is
consider
what
that
this
it
is
can't
my
happen to you
personal, but I
beyond?
just turned it for the school because.
So if it's something that brings forth cancer, then wouldn't you say it's not, you shouldn't be doing it, but you do it anyway, right? So then that shows that you actually are not walking around with the fear that, you know what, this can destroy you. And that's the fear that you gotta have, because read that last part again. It says him
Shall God destroy.
him shall. What God says, when the Bible says shall, that means it's going to happen. That's the fear that you gotta have. The Most High say he'll destroy a man. There's destroying the body that he gave him. So you gotta quit the smoking. You get what I'm saying? Because you need your lungs. What's going to happen when this world America we know is destroyed, and it's foreign troops on this soil, and all our war break out, and you need to turn and run? You ain't gonna be able to run because your lungs ain't gonna be able to do anything. You gonna have the same effect that a person with asthma has. A person with asthma, their lungs will just close up on them and give out. They can't help that, right? But you are physically yourself enabling your lungs, and you need them. You need them to breathe. You need them to function the way God intended them to function. So you gotta get rid of the smoking. You gotta have a fear, because if you don't and continue, then the Most High punish you. And don't worry about, and then forget about the example that was set, because that's something you saw. That's something that you saw, and you was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. Whether it's being, I want to look cool, whether everybody else is doing it. This is what you got to do. Romans chapter 12.
YouTube, Facebook. This is the website.
This is what you got to do now. Romans chapter 12, and we'll start at verse 1.
The book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice.
So now, this is Paul talking to the Israelites that was at Rome. He said, I beseech you and I beg you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, right? Let me show you the mercy of God. Let's get Leviticus, should be 7:15. Then you get Hebrews chapter 10. Let me show you what the mercy is talking about. Hebrews chapter 10, and we'll jump in at verse 28. So now check this out. So we read Genesis 1 about how the herbs of the plants are supposed to be used, right? So now those are the first 5 books of the Bible which Moses wrote. The Most High gave Moses to write, right? So now check this out. Hebrews 10 and verse 28.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 28. He that despised Moses' law, right? Go ahead.
Died without mercy.
Did what?
Died without mercy. They died without mercy. You sinned in Moses' time, they stoned you. So if right now you was in Moses' time, you was in the time of the old covenant, all brothers would be taking you to the edge of the city and throwing bricks at you. And they would throw bricks at you until there was no more breath in your body. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy. So now we go back to Romans 12:1.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God.
It says, so now you have obtained mercy. You know how? Because at the moment you sin, you're not put to death. But what is the mercy that the Most High has given us? Get Titus chapter 2. What is the mercy that we've been extended? The Most High don't kill us right away, but He does something for us. And this is the thing that you got to take the more earnest heed to. So this is Titus chapter 2, and it should be verse 11. So we at the book of Titus chapter 2 and verse 11.
The book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation.
What's another word for grace? Mercy, right? So now, let's say, for the mercy of God, right? You with me? Because we learned about the mercy. The first mercy we had was what? Those that sinned in Moses' law, they died without mercy, right? So now, this is the mercy or the grace that's being extended to us. It's not a license to do what we want, but the Most High is doing something for us to help us to overcome the battles that we have, right? So now, this is Titus chapter 2 and 11. It says, for the grace of God, or the mercy of God, go ahead.
That bringeth salvation.
Bringing salvation. What is salvation? Deliverance. What do we need to be delivered from as a people first? We need to be delivered from sins, correct? We need to be delivered from all the bad habits and all the bad decisions that we make and we create in our life, right? So the mercy that delivers us from those sins, go ahead,
has appeared to all men.
It has appeared to all men. Go ahead.
Teaching us.
What is the mercy actually doing? What was that word that he just read? Read it from the top. Read it. The last precept of 11 had to appear to all men. Then read the very next word.
Hath appeared to all men.
So this mercy appeared to all men. What?
Teaching us.
Teaching us. So what is the actual mercy of God? Exactly. Him teaching us to do the right thing. So mercy is not a license to do what we want. It's an opportunity that the Most High gives us to change while He's teaching us. Correct? Go ahead.
That denying ungodliness.
And that teaching tells us that we have to deny ungodliness. Smoking cigarettes is ungodly. So now we teaching you got to deny that. You got to fight that addiction off. And you got to suffer the shakes. You got to suffer the body aches. Because if you don't, what did the Bible say? Go back to Hebrews 10. You still hold that? In verse Hebrews 10 and verse 29. The reason you have to deny ungodliness and you got to suffer the body aches while you overcome it is because of it. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26.
The book of Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26. For if we sin willfully.
So if we sin anyway, and after hearing what's being said and what's coming out, if you choose to walk away and continue, even though the Most High extended you mercy by teaching you, go ahead.
After that we receive the knowledge of the truth.
This is the knowledge of the truth. Get Psalm chapter 119 and 151. What is the knowledge of the truth? Psalm chapter 119 and 151. It says, after we have received the knowledge of the truth, what is the truth?
The book of Psalms, chapter 119, and verse 151. Thou art near, O Lord, and all thy commandments are truth.
It says, all thy commandments are truth. What's another word for a commandment? Law. So after you receive the knowledge of the laws, go ahead, and so starting from the top.
For if we sin willfully,
If we sin anyway, if we say to hell with that, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Go ahead.
after that we have received the knowledge of the truth,
After we get the laws that shows us not to do it, go ahead.
there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin,
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. Now jump down to verse 29.
Verse 29. How much sore punishment suppose ye?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, 27.
Verse
Instead of mercy, instead of a sacrifice being left to us, what's left to us?
Verse 27. But a certain fearful looking for of
A
judgment,
certain fearful looking for of judgment. So now, instead of the Most High being merciful to us, instead of Christ's death being a benefit to us, the Most High said it didn't benefit us. Now we're going to be looking for a certain fearful looking for of judgment. Go ahead.
and fiery indignation.
So we can, if you continue, if you don't do the work, because now you got to do the work. Now you got to will yourself past it, and the way that you will yourself past it is you use the laws, use the commandments, and every time you feel that urge to fire up, get a Romans 7. So now, because it's something that you grew to do, right? With smoking cigarettes and those things, it comes with addiction. The nicotine, the body begins to crave those things, right? So now you got to fight it off. And in the midst of your fighting, this is what you got to do. Romans 7 and verse 21.
I find then a law.
It says, I find then a law.
Shot.
So you got to
Start
go
rolling
right
up.
back to the law.
Start
Go
rolling
ahead.
up. Start
That
rolling up.
then I will do good,
Start rolling
evil
up.
is present with me.
That when you, that whenever you get ready to do evil, that law is going to help you to revert right back to what you should do. Does that make sense? So you got to learn. You got to take your time to study. You got to be taught. And then you got to remember and send up prayers and ask for the ability to overcome those things. All right? All right. So we're going to close it out with Matthew 26.
6 and verse 26. 26 and 6. Now when Christ was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box, a very precious woman, and poured it on his head and set at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this woman might have been sold for much to give to the poor. When Christ understood, he said to them, why trouble ye the woman, for she hath brought the good work upon me? For ye have the poor always with you, but me have not always. For in that she hath poured this woman on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told from the memory of her.
So in the commandment of Christ, he said, wherever the gospel is preached, to make mention of his sister Mary Magdalene, he set an example on how to truly repent and be sorry for sin. So with that, Israel, we're going to say shalom.
All right, Israelites, shalom. Most High Christ bless. Yeah.